Within the quiet chambers of your longing, a profound desire stirs, to never again feel the chilling grip of manipulation, to stand unswayed by the subtle currents that seek to bend your will. This craving for absolute immunity, for an unbreachable fortress against external influence, is a deeply human yearning. Yet here lies an unsettling truth, a paradox at the heart of our modern condition. This very desire, so pure in its intent, is precisely the fertile ground upon which the most insidious forms of manipulation take root. It is the hidden vulnerability, the exposed nerve, that those who would subtly control us instinctively seek. For generations, we have been taught to seek comfort, to prize security above all else, to find our place within the collective embrace. This pursuit of belonging, this yearning for a life free from the sharp edges of existential struggle, has subtly eroded our intrinsic capacity for discernment, our primal self-defense. We have traded the rugged terrain of self-overcoming for the manicured lawns of conformity, and in doing so we have cultivated a particular kind of soul, one Nietzsche acutely observed: the last man. The last man is not a villain, but a tragic figure of ease and complacency. He is the individual who blinks at the stars and asks, "What is love?" Before settling for a comfortable, predictable life, he prioritizes comfort, collective approval, and the absence of pain over the arduous, often lonely path of genuine self-overcoming. He has learned to avoid all that is challenging, all that demands a strenuous effort of will, believing that contentment lies in the smooth, unruffled surface of existence. He has become a pliable member of the herd, easily led, easily satisfied, precisely because he has abandoned the radical independence that could make him a force unto himself. His greatest fear is not manipulation, but discomfort. His deepest longing, not freedom, but safety. This is the quiet tragedy that unfolds within many hearts, the slow surrender of one's unique will to the collective current, the dimming of one's inner light in exchange for the warmth of belonging. Perhaps you have felt this quiet erosion, this subtle compromise of your true self, the pain of feeling your voice soften, your convictions waver, your path diverge from its authentic course, is not a small thing. It is the deep ache of a spirit yearning for its own sovereignty, for the return of its unshakable power. But this journey, the one we embark upon now, is not about mere resistance. It is about a profound reforging of the self. In the next moments, we will delve into the uncomfortable depths of human nature, into the very mechanics of influence, not to fear them, but to understand them, to disarm them, and ultimately to transcend them. This is a path to where true psychological resilience is not given, but forged, hammered into shape through a radical self-overcoming. It is a journey into the hidden truths that allow you to stand firm, to become the undisputed author of your own existence. The mask you wear is not your true face. Uncover the will beneath. This is not a promise of instant magic, but an invitation to an inner alchemy, a transformation that begins the moment you choose to truly see. Are you ready to claim the unshakable power that lies dormant within you? There are chains, unseen and often self-imposed, that bind the very core of your being. These are not forged by overt force, but by a silent betrayal of the self, an unconscious adherence to the pervasive whispers of the herd. You may believe you are acting with humility, with empathy, or with a noble desire for peace. Yet beneath these cloaks of virtue, a more profound truth often resides, a diluted will to power, a fear of your own formidable strength. Nietzsche, with his piercing insight, warned us, beware of the good man who fears his own strength. This fear, this reluctance to fully occupy your own sovereign ground, creates the very void that external forces rush to fill, turning your dormant potential into a conduit for their influence. We have been fed a myth, a distorted understanding that the will to power is solely about domination, about wielding authority over others. This passive interpretation is a profound disarming, convincing individuals that genuine power is inherently corrupt, thus encouraging encouraging them to surrender their own agency. You are led to believe that to be powerful is to be tyrannical, and in doing so you remain susceptible, open to the insidious currents of manipulation. But consider this: manipulation is rarely an external force imposed upon a wholly unwilling subject. Instead, it acts as an inverted mirror, reflecting and exploiting your own unacknowledged will to power, your innate desire for significance, for control over your own destiny, for a deeper understanding of truth. Manipulators do not create desires. They merely present themselves as the most convenient, most appealing conduit to what you already crave within your soul. To reclaim this profound inner force, to stand unshakable against the subtle currents of influence, demands a Nietzschean revaluation of your own internal landscape. Begin by identifying the unexamined desires that fuel your compliance, the quiet yearnings for acceptance or ease that lead you to bend your will. Then courageously confront the resentment born from suppressed ambition, the subtle bitterness that festers when your authentic drive is denied its expression. Finally, recenter your actions not on the fleeting validation of the external world, but on the arduous yet profoundly liberating path of self-overcoming. This is the arduous work of self-authorship, a defiant act against all that seeks to diminish your inherent power. Remember the lion, Nietzsche's powerful metaphor. It is not enough to merely reject the camel's burden of "thou shalt," the heavy weight of imposed morality and societal expectation. The lion's roar in the desert is a declaration of freedom, a shattering of external commands, to create new values that the lion cannot yet do, but to create freedom for new creating that the might of the lion can do. This freedom is the unshakable foundation from which your authentic values can emerge, uncorrupted by the subtle manipulations of others. It is the raw, untamed power to stand alone, to author your own convictions, and in doing so, to become truly immune to the unseen chains. Your greatest strength lies not in conformity, but in radical self-overcoming. There is a subtle yet pervasive force that keeps many tethered to a state of quiet disempowerment, the unseen hand of resentment. This is not the overt anger that roars, but the insidious, festering bitterness that fuels passive-aggressive behaviors or unconscious compliance. It is rooted deeply in what Nietzsche called slave morality, a profound inversion of values where weakness is championed as virtue, and strength, power, and self-assertion are demonized, cast as inherently evil. Nietzsche's words echo with stark clarity. What is good? All that enhances the feeling of power, the will to power, power itself in man. What is bad? All that is born of weakness. When you unknowingly internalize a morality that praises your limitations and demonizes your inherent drive for greatness, you become a willing participant in your own manipulation. Consider the false promise of pity, a common distortion in our modern landscape. Empathy and compassion, when unexamined and untempered by discernment, can become potent tools for manipulation. We live in a culture where victimhood often grants a perverse form of power, where strength is viewed with suspicion, and where moralistic blackmail can thrive. When you are taught to blindly pity, to always prioritize the perceived suffering of others, you open yourself to those who would exploit your compassion, turning your own virtue against you. This creates a fertile ground for manipulators who skillfully leverage these sentiments to disarm your critical faculties and bend your will. It is time to shatter the expectation that good and evil are absolute, unchanging pillars. Instead, understand how these concepts were historically revalued by the weak to control the strong, to tame the powerful, to make the exceptional conform. Manipulation often works precisely by leveraging these inherited moral frameworks against your natural instincts for power, for self-preservation, for radical independence. You are told that your ambition is selfish, your desire for control is tyrannical, your strength is dangerous. These are the subtle chains of a morality designed to keep you small, to keep you manageable, to keep you from fully fully realizing your unshakable inner power. To break free, cultivate the master's gaze, a profound psychological exercise in reevaluation. Identify a moral judgment you hold, one you have perhaps never questioned. Trace its origin. Is it societal, familial, religious, or truly your own? Then ask yourself with brutal honesty, does this judgment genuinely empower my self-overcoming, or does it serve to diminish me or someone else, cloaking weakness in the guise of virtue? This act of questioning, this re-evaluation, is a radical step towards intellectual independence. Embrace the serpent's wisdom, a powerful symbol from Zarathustra. The serpent, shedding its old skin, represents the profound ability to discard old moralities, to shed inherited values that no longer serve your authentic self, and to embrace new truths and perspectives. This capacity for revaluation, for shedding what no longer empowers you, is crucial for navigating complex power dynamics and resisting moralistic manipulation. Beyond good and evil lies the path to authentic self-authorship. Your greatest strength lies not in conformity, but in radical self-overcoming. Are you willing to shed the skin of inherited morality and claim your true power? There is an invisible prison that many inhabit, built not of stone and iron, but of unexamined biases and unchallenged opinions. This prison shapes your very perception of reality, leading to an unconscious acceptance of narratives imposed by others, often mistaking one perspective for universal truth. Nietzsche, with his profound clarity, declared, "There are no facts, only interpretations." This truth, often unsettling, reveals that much of what you hold as absolute is merely a construct, a lens through which you choose to view the world, or through which others have chosen for you. We have been conditioned by the myth of objective reality, the common distortion that truth is a fixed, singular entity waiting to be discovered, rather than a dynamic construct of various perspectives. This myth renders individuals profoundly vulnerable to those who claim to possess the truth, wielding it as a weapon to control beliefs, actions, and even your deepest sense of self. They present their interpretation as the only valid one, demanding your surrender to their version of reality. But what if this supposed objective truth is merely a skillfully crafted narrative designed to serve a particular will, to maintain a specific power dynamic? It is time to shatter the expectation that you are merely a passive recipient of information, a blank slate upon which narratives are etched. Instead, embrace the liberating understanding that every interpretation is an act of creation. You possess the radical freedom to construct your own empowering perspective, thereby rendering external narratives, especially those designed to manipulate, utterly impotent. When you realize that your perception is an active, creative force, you reclaim the power to define your own reality, to choose the lens through which you engage with the world. This is not about denying what is, but about understanding that what asterisk is asterisk always comes filtered through a consciousness, a will. To cultivate this intellectual independence, practice the perspectivist lens daily. When confronted with any narrative, be it from media, social circles, or even your own internal monologue, ask yourself, whose perspective is this? What does it serve? What other perspectives are possible? Actively seek out counter perspectives, not to adopt them blindly, but to broaden your understanding and dismantle the manipulative frames that seek to narrow your vision. This conscious effort to explore multiple viewpoints is a powerful antidote to the singular controlling narrative. Embrace the wisdom of the many-eyed Sphinx, a metaphor for the multifaceted nature of truth and perspective. The Sphinx, with its riddles, challenges you to look beyond the obvious, beyond the single dominant narrative, and to embrace the profound complexity of existence. It demands critical inquiry, a willingness to question, to delve deeper, to seek out the hidden angles. Only by engaging with this complexity, by allowing your mind to dance between different interpretations, can you truly build an unshakable inner strength that is impervious to the lies and half-truths of those who seek to control. The true measure of your independence independence is your indifference to external validation. There is a silent tyranny that grips many, a profound fear of external control and judgment. This fear manifests as a relentless anxiety about outcomes, a desperate, knowing need for approval, and a constant worry about what others think. It is this internal landscape that makes one profoundly susceptible to emotional blackmail, to the subtle manipulation of conditional love, and to the pervasive influence of external forces. You find yourself bending your will, compromising your truth, all to avert a perceived catastrophe or to secure a fleeting moment of acceptance. Nietzsche, in his profound wisdom, urged us that one becomes what one is. To truly become what you are, you must shed this tyranny of what if, this constant negotiation with an imagined future. We are often ensnared by the illusion of perfect control, a common distortion that happiness flows from meticulously managing external circumstances and meticulously avoiding all suffering. This myth, so deeply ingrained, renders individuals fragile, easily shattered by the slightest tremor of discomfort, and thus easily manipulated by threats to their perceived comfort or security. If your peace depends on an unchanging, predictable world, you grant immense power to anyone who can disrupt that world or merely threaten to do so. This external focus on control is a profound vulnerability, an open door for those who seek to sway your actions through fear or promise of ease. It is time to shatter the expectation that certain events are inherently bad and must be resisted, fought against, or regretted. Instead, embrace the alchemical power of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. This radical acceptance transforms all experiences, even those that are painful, challenging, or seemingly destructive, into profound opportunities for growth. When you truly love your fate, when you affirm every single moment of your existence, you render external threats and emotional manipulation utterly powerless. For what can be held over you? What can be used to control you? If you have already embraced it all, willing even the sorrow and the struggle as essential threads in the tapestry of your becoming, to fortify your spirit with this unshakable power, engage in the profound mental exercise of the mirror of eternal recurrence. When confronted with a difficult situation, a painful setback, or a manipulative pressure, imagine willing it to recur eternally. Ask yourself, would I wish for this exact moment, this exact pain, this exact challenge to repeat itself endlessly for all eternity? This thought experiment, a cornerstone of Nietzsche's philosophy, reveals whether you are truly affirming life in its totality or merely tolerating it, wishing for a different path. To answer yes to eternal recurrence, even to the darkest moments, cultivates an impenetrable inner strength, a profound indifference to the external conditions that seek to dictate your state of being. Consider the phoenix rising from the ashes, a powerful metaphor for the transformative power of Amor Fati. Even the most destructive experiences, the deepest wounds, the most profound betrayals, when embraced with a radical acceptance, can be transmuted. They become not scars that weaken, but fuel for rebirth, allowing the self to rise anew, unburdened by resentment or regret, radiating an unshakable resilience. Embrace the abyss within. It holds the blueprint for your unshakable power. Your greatest strength lies not in conformity, but in radical self-overcoming. There is a shadow that lingers, not from an external source, but from within, the shadow of unlived potential. These are the self-imposed psychological limitations, the unconscious adherence to the comfortable yet confining mentality of the herd that prevent you from realizing your true formidable potential. When you do not strive to become all that you are capable of, you leave yourself susceptible, a pliable instrument in the hands of stronger, more defined wills. Nietzsche, with his relentless call to greatness, declared, "Man is something that must be overcome. To remain stagnant, to settle for the human, all too human condition, is to invite the very forces that seek to control you." We often grapple with a profound misconception of the Übermensch or Superman. man. The common distortion paints a picture of a ruthless, dominant figure devoid of empathy, wielding power over others. This myth is a profound disservice, preventing individuals from aspiring to genuine self-overcoming, mistaking it for unethical egoism. In this misunderstanding, many shy away from their own inherent power, choosing to remain perpetually human, all too human, vulnerable, easily swayed, and ultimately manipulated by those who have dared to define their own values. But the Mensch is not a tyrant. He is the sovereign self, the master of his own chaos, the sculptor of his own soul. It is time to shatter the expectation that personal growth is a passive process, a gentle unfolding. Instead, embrace the self-overcoming imperative, the understanding that the path to the Mensch is an active, continuous process of relentless re-evaluating values, integrating paradoxes, and consciously creating oneself anew every single day. This is the arduous yet profoundly liberating work of transcending the very conditions that enable manipulation. When you are constantly in the process of becoming, when your values are forged in the crucible of your own will, no external force can truly define or control you. You become the architect of your own being, impervious to the subtle currents of influence. To engage in this profound self-creation, wield the hammer of self-creation, a practical guide to revaluation. Identify a deeply held belief or value that limits your actions, that makes you feel vulnerable or ties you to external validation. Then philosophize with a hammer. Question its foundations with an unyielding intensity. Ask, does this belief truly serve my self-overcoming? Does it empower my authentic will to power? Or is it merely a relic of a received morality, a chain from the past? If it diminishes you, if it makes you smaller, then bravely shatter it, and in its place forge a new, life-affirming value, one that springs from the deepest wellsprings of your own sovereign spirit. Consider Zarathustra's descent from the mountain, a powerful symbolic conclusion to this journey. After years of solitude and profound self-mastery, Zarathustra descends not to dominate, but to share his wisdom, embodying the radical independence and authentic power that renders manipulation obsolete. He has wrestled with chaos, integrated his shadows, and emerged as the master of his own destiny. One must have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. This dancing star is your authentic self, forged in the fires of self-overcoming, radiating an unshakable inner strength that no external force can ever extinguish. Beyond good and evil lies the path to authentic self-authorship. Your greatest strength lies not in conformity, but in radical self-overcoming. Are you ready to embrace your chaos and create your own dancing star? We have journeyed together through the intricate landscape of the self, delving into the unseen currents that seek to bend your will, the subtle whispers that challenge your sovereignty. From the quiet anxieties of the last man to the insidious chains of slave morality, and through the illusions of objective truth, we have sought to unveil the hidden mechanisms of manipulation. This path has been uncomfortable, demanding a ruthless honesty, but it has revealed a profound truth. Liberation from manipulation is not an external battle fought against others, but an internal revaluation of your deepest values, a conscious and courageous embrace of your authentic will to power. It is a profound inner shift, a reforging of your spirit from within. The strength you seek, the unshakable resilience, does not lie in building higher walls around yourself, but in dismantling the internal structures that make you vulnerable. It is in understanding that your innate desire for significance, for truth, for self-mastery can be weaponized against you if left unexamined. It is in recognizing that the illusion of objective reality can be shattered by the potent lens of perspectivism, allowing you to author your own empowering interpretations. And it is in the alchemical power of Amor Fati, the radical love of your fate, that every challenge, every wound, every moment of adversity is transmuted into fuel for your becoming. Now, consider Nietzsche's ultimate challenge, the most profound test of your self-mastery and freedom, the eternal recurrence. Imagine this moment, this very breath, this specific struggle you face, and every joy and every sorrow that has led you here. Would you affirm it? Would you, with a profound and unyielding will, choose to live it precisely as it is, countless times over for all eternity? This thought experiment is not a mere philosophical abstraction. It is the final crucible for your soul. To answer yes to eternal recurrence, to truly love your fate, is to solidify an Amor Fati so unshakable that no external force, no subtle manipulation can ever truly dislodge you from your sovereign center. The true measure of your independence is your indifference to external validation. This journey, however, is not a destination, but a continuous becoming. The work of the self-mastered individual is an ongoing process, a perpetual vigilance against both the internal shadows and the external currents that seek to diminish your authentic power. It demands a relentless self-overcoming, a constant re-evaluation of values, and an unwavering commitment to intellectual independence. Only through this sustained effort can you ensure a lasting psychological autonomy, a citadel of self that stands unbreachable against the tides of influence. This is the profound, difficult, yet utterly liberating path we have unveiled. It is an invitation to truly never be manipulated again, not by avoidance or fear, but by cultivating an unshakable inner strength that springs from the deepest wellsprings of your being, to become the sculptor of your own soul, the author of your own destiny, untamed by the whispers of the world. Now, with this wisdom stirring within you, are you ready to choose the eternal affirmation of your own unshakable power and truly become what you are?